Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in British Columbia, Canada. And today I thought I would jump on and show you a card that I made using the Feels Like Home stamp set, which is a free stamp set during Celebration. And I've colored it with watercolor pencils. It's been a while since I've pulled out my watercolor pencils, but this stamp set is perfect for coloring with watercolor pencils or your blends. But for some reason, it just calls out watercolor pencils for me. So I'm hoping there'll be some people jump on and that, yeah, so I'm starting to see some people jump on. That's great. If you are here for the first time and you're following me on YouTube, or if you've come back and you're watching me on YouTube, please take the time to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I do post on a regular basis, both video tutorials as well as lives. And if you're coming in through Facebook, yeah, so I'm seeing, I use an application called StreamYard for my streaming. And if you come in through Facebook, you actually have to give Facebook, if you're coming in through a group, permission so that I can actually see your name. So you can go out to streamyard.com/Facebook and give, while you're logged into Facebook, give it permission. You do it once and then you're good. And it just means I'll actually be able to see who's commenting. It's one of the downsides of this application, and that's I've got my phone here so that I can actually. Oh, it's Darlene. Hi, Darlene. Sorry, I'm just going to try and mute. There we go. I've got my phone so I can actually look and see. But if I come in and look at the screen where I'm streaming from, I actually can't see the names. So, okay, I'm going to switch over to my desktop and I'll get started on the card. Hey, Susan. Oh, welcome from Wisconsin. Oh, it's nice to see so many people coming from different places. Okay, so this is the card that I made, and I just really loved. I love to color, and so coloring with watercolor pencils is one of my favorites, and I don't do it often enough. So I've used the Feels Like Home stamp set. It's a bit of a glare on it. This is a celebration item. That you can get for free with an order. And so it's got this great stamp with the door and the bike and of course the trees and plants. And then a little tulips and some really nice sentiments. So that's what I've used. And I've stamped it on watercolor paper. I've also used the scallop contour dies, which is what I've ended up cutting out my piece after I colored it. These are my go-to dies these days. I seem to use them for everything. And then I don't know that you can see. Oh, there we go. I embossed the basic gray using the bricks and mortar embossing folder. Okay, so let's get started. So here's my supplies. So I've got a piece of smoky slate cardstock, and I'm just going to fold it in half and use my bone folder to give it a really nice crease. And then I won't adhere this. So I've got basic gray. And as I said, I embossed this using the bricks and mortar embossing folder. I'm going to wait because I'm going to put some ribbon around this. I've got a scrap piece of basic gray that I'm going to put my sentiment on. And then I've got a half of a piece of the watercolor cardstock. You can use the shimmery white cardstock if you want, but you have to be a little careful. You don't want to use basic white because with the watercolor pencils, especially if you're using the water painters, the basic white cardstock just won't handle the water. This watercolor paper is intended to do that. Now, I've got a whole bunch of watercolor pencils. There are two different packages, and I have to be honest, I'm not sure what colors are available in what package. I just went and grabbed these. But there are two different packages of watercolor pencils. Both have different sets of colors in them. I'm going to use a blender pen today. I just find with watercolor pencils, I can control where the color goes with a blender pen more than I can if I'm using a water painter. So if I use a water painter, I tend to use that for more overall patterns or, yeah, overall color. Or bigger color if I'm going to do something that's bigger. this stamp is quite fine, and I just find I have more control with the blender pen. So I'm just going to ink up. Now I want to make sure I'm pressing quite hard, because I find that the watercolor paper, you just don't get as crisp of an image as you do on the basic white or the shimmering white. So I just want to I'm sure I've really inked up. And this is not one of the foam pads that Stampin' Up! Has. This is the fabric pad, and so you do have to press harder with the Memento ink anyway. Okay, and I'm also going to, even though this is a rubber stamp, I'm going to use my piercing mat, a piece of a piercing mat, just because I think I can get a better image. And I'm just going to make sure I'm pressing quite hard, not moving it around, but pressing so that it doesn't smudge. That's not too bad. You can use your Stamparatus as well to try and get that really crisp image. You won't get as dark and crisp as you will on the other kinds of paper that we have. Now, it's up to you what you want to color. I'm going to use real red because I love a red door. And I'm just going to lay some color down on here. I do want this door to be quite red and quite dark, so I'm going to add the color. Try not to go over what I think is a door knocker. I'm not really worrying if I'm getting everything, because I am going to go back over this with my blender pen to blend in the color. So really, I'm just laying down some color onto my watercolor paper. And there are two ends to the blender pen. They're both really mostly the same. And this is, I don't know what this, I think it's glycerin in the watercolor, or the blender pen is what the liquid is. So then I just take my blender pen and go back over and smooth out, spread the color that I've laid down on here. So really just kind of going over. You can see at the bottom. I didn't go all the way to the bottom, and I probably should have, because now that bottom of my door is going to be quite light. But what you can do, let's just go back over here. I find that if you try to go back over this with the watercolor pencil, I apologize, this is a bit of way, it doesn't work as well. So I just take my blender pen and pick up color from the pencil itself, and that works really well to be able to pick up. Now, you can let this dry, and that works too. Then you can go back over it with your watercolor pencil. But that's good for now. And then with these blender pens, just take it and rub it on your grid paper or a scrap paper until the color isn't there anymore, and then you're good to go. Now I'm going to take a combination of greens. I've got garden green, old olive, and granny apple green for my plants. And I'm going to use the garden green, and I'm just kind of going over and laying some color down on. This is, to me, looks all just like leaves. Maybe it's flowers, but it's kind of hard to see. So I'm just going to lay some color down, and then I'm going to go in and blend this. And see, I'm not really fussing too much about staying in the lines or making sure I get everything, because I am going to take my blender pen and just take it and blend over and spread the color out. Now, if you were using an image that is larger and it's, more obvious, this is really tiny little images, stamped image on parts of this. So it is hard to color in the lines. And so I don't think you have to, at least that's my theory, and I'm going to stick to it. All right, and then I've got some of the granny apple green, and it's kind of hard to see what's down here, but I'm going to assume that it's like a succulent. So I'm just going to add that. You could do it as flowers. And then Old Olive up here. And again, just adding color and then going back over it with the blender pen. Okay, now I have some early espresso, and I'm just going to add some lines for the tree, the branches and the trunk of the tree. You can take as much time with this as you want. I'm kind of not doing that, but I miss some leaves. What color should I do? I'll do these. And you can actually, like I said, you can go back over this when you can leave it dry, and then you can go back over it. Now I've got Melon Mambo here, which is what I'm doing my flowers. So I'm just going to assume this is all flowers down here, and it's all flowers in the basket of the bike. And then this is all flowers down here. And then let's see, what else do I want? Okay, so I've got Cajun Craze and Basic Gray. And what's happened to my early espresso? So I'm going to do a bit of a combination for the pots for the plants. This is the Cajun Craze. Basic Gray. I've got some color down. And then this one I'm going to do in Cajun Craze. So then go back over these just to blend those colors. Some color, some more gray. There we go. All right. And now I need the basket on my bike. Now, on my original card, I did the basket of the bike pink and the flowers yellow. So I think I will do the basket. Since I did the flowers yellow, we'll do the basket yellow on this one. Change it up a little bit. Like that. And I did my bike pink, but I think I'm going to do my bike in Pacific Point. So we'll just add some. I'm just really doing what would be the fenders and the metal parts of the bike. And again, just kind of going to go and smooth this one. Not much you can do with these. It's so tiny on this image. So I'm really just kind of smoothing the color out so that you can see it a little bit more. There, the blue bike this time around. And then I have black that I'm going to do my tires with. I'm not going to worry about the spokes. Maybe just too hard. Maybe that. And then this door knocker I'm going to do, probably should be done in gold, but I don't have a way. So I'm going to do the door knocker in black and the lock in black. And then I'm just going to try and just kind of smooth the tires out a bit. Blend that color. Okay, now, what color seat? Maybe we'll do a yellow seat on my bike. All right, that's the fiddly parts. Now, I think, yeah, around the door, I'm going to do in gray. So I'm just going to lay some color down because I'm going to go in and blend this out with the blender pen. through the spokes, as you would see the I don't know if that's called sashing. Maybe it's, anyway, whatever's around the door. So we'll just kind of blend this. You could color this, as I said, with your Stampin' Blends, or your Stampin' Blends. But sometimes when it's just tiny images like this, the watercolor pencils work really well. Okay. And the last thing, well, no, second last thing, I'm going to use Cajun Craze around the, kind of around it. So I'm just going to add some Cajun Craze as if it was kind of brick through the trees around the top. And then I'll go in and blend around through the bikes. Here we go. You can see, I don't know if this is kind of far away, it's maybe not to see. You can see I've just really laid the color down here. But when you take and use your blender pen, put that up again, it really smooths out nicely. You can just see it. I'm not sure what the watercolor pencils are made of, but the blender pen and the water painters just work so well to just pick up the color and move it around, so you can get rid of some of the obvious lines that you've laid down. It's too dark. Okay. And then the last thing, actually, let's do this. I picked up a little bit of blue off the bike there, so we'll add a little bit more. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I did a gray floor. Oh, it's actually an early espresso floor. Where's my early espresso? I'm not sure if this is meant to be a matte or maybe it's meant to be wood. So that's why I chose the early espresso. Anyway, watercolor pencils are fun to play with. And as I said, you can kind of go back over it. Oh, I forgot the window. Is that what I did in yellow? Like the lights are on. And somebody's home. Oh, that's quite dark. All right, and then I think I'm just going to go over these with just a bit of black, just to make sure that grid in the window a little darker. Okay, oops, there's my card. Now what I need to do with this is to take, oops, dropped my stamp set. I took the second largest scallop die and cut it out. So I will do that. My Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Actually, the mini's here, and it will fit. So I'll just grab my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And on there. There we go. Get that through. That's why I tend to often do this off camera, because it shakes my table. Sorry about that. Everything's moving around. There we go. Like that. I love those scallop contour dies. All right, so that's cut out. Now, what I want to do with this is, I couldn't figure out what ribbon. So this is the ribbon from the Pampered Pets. So I thought, well, it's red and I've got a red door. It's not quite as red as this, but anyway, I'm going to use it. So I'm just wrapping the two around, and I'm going to tie a bow. So I'll just take that. So take the two pieces, put them together, and let's see if I can tie a bow. I want it over to the sides like this. I think I got it. Oh, I did. Okay, there we go. Sometimes that doesn't work when I do it on camera. Okay, like that. Now this can adhere. You can use whatever your favorite adhesive is. Mine's Stampin' Seal. So put this going the right way. Like that. That. Okay, and then I'm going to use dimensionals. Just looking for comments. Seeing all the comments. Nope. There we go. Yeah, I'm not seeing all the comments. I see somebody commented, figured out using watercolor pencils. Me too. Even though they sit in my space right beside my Stampin' Blends, Darlene, yeah, I just, they're not top of mind. And so when I see a stamp set like this, that is, for me, just obviously calls out for watercoloring, that's when the watercolor pencils come to mind. So I'm just going to put this over to the left-hand side of my card, just because the ribbon is on the right-hand side, and I didn't get that on very straight. Let's see if it'll. Sometimes Stampin' Seal is a little bit more forgiving. Sometimes it's not. Let's see if I can get that. There we go. That's a little straighter. Okay, and then the last thing I need to do is put a sentiment on, and I've got the little sentiment that says "Missing You." So one thing I will say is, because this isn't straight either, when you've got something that is obviously needs to be straight, like a door, watch what you're doing, because now I've got a door that's crooked. Not only, so that straightened it up a little bit, but I realized that when I cut this out using the die, I got it just slightly not straight. And maybe you can't see that on camera, but I can. So, never fails. All right, and I tend to just like to fussy cut these little sentiments out. So I'm just going to take, I've stamped it on a scrap of basic gray cardstock, and I'm just going to cut it around. And when I do that, I often intentionally don't try to cut it straight with straight edges, because then it hopefully doesn't look like I was, intended to have it straight and didn't quite make it. Hopefully it looks like I intended it not to be straight. So, all right, and we would just put that right there like that. So that's my card. A little bit different than this one. This one, I guess, this is for a boy and this is for a girl. Let's say that, with the blue bike and the pink bike. So a little bit different. I guess I could trim my tails on my ribbon. There we go. Okay, there we go. So a really pretty card, and an easy technique. You can spend as much time as you want to with watercoloring. And sometimes I'll actually leave it and go back to it, because you can go back. Once it's dry, it's easy to go back and use your watercolor pencils on top of it. As I said before, it's dry, it tends to be harder to color with the watercolor pencils, which is why I pick up the color off the pencil using the blender pen. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. And I will be back. Let's see. I am back tomorrow night. We do a free Zoom class. So if you're on my Facebook group, the Zoom information will be posted. It's at 7 p.m. Pacific. We'll make a couple of cards together. And then I'll be back on Facebook Live and YouTube Live with a sketch challenge on Tuesday night. So thanks everybody for joining me. Hope you're having a great day. Happy stamping.